Okay, so this video is about proprioception. Proprioception, when I heard that term, I was thinking, oh, that's just a fancy word for overcomplicating something, like gilding a lily. But as I have gone through my fitness journey, one thing I noticed when people ask me how I can box jump and how I can jump so well and do a lot of things that I do, um, it made me realize I have I don't know if you want to call it a sixth sense of where I am in space. And so that's what proprioception is. It's the ability to understand where you are in space when you move. And so why am I wearing cycling kit? Because I just finished a workout. And why would a cyclist care about proprioception? Is because proprioception, it gives you the ability to move through space freely and to just kind of understand where you are as you move. And one of the sexy things that a cyclist, especially someone who doesn't have fast twitch muscles or isn't dominant on the fast twitch, is they always wanted to box jumps, just jumping in general. And they ask me, how do you box jump so high? And one of the things I've noticed with people who can't box jump well is this hesitation to jump. And it finally dawned on me, the reason why they have this hesitation is because they don't know where they are in space. They are apprehensive or anxious to make that leap, literally and figuratively, because they don't know where they are in space. And so here's a couple of tips I have for people to learn how to improve your proprioception. And this all goes into not only cycling, but just so many other facets of things. And one of the interesting things about improving your proprioception is just understanding where you are, even with your feet planted. And keep in mind, I'm barefoot. And over the last few years, I slowly started transitioning to doing almost all of my workouts barefoot. And the only exception that I ever put on shoes is something with very high impact, like my single leg double broad jumps or any of my broad jumps. Box jumps I'll do barefoot because I can soft land those. But something that's a high impact indoors, I will use shoes. Outdoors, obviously, I use shoes. But that said, one of the most basic things of understanding proprioception, improving your proprioception, is actually the reverse lunge. It's like, well, what's the deal about that? It's because you're stepping back without seeing what's behind you. Obviously, I have a mirror. Well, not obviously because you can't see it, but there's a mirror in front of me. But generally speaking, I don't need the mirror because I know where my foot is going to land. Well, it's like, well, duh, you know it's going to land behind you. But it's a little more complicated than that. It's the idea of knowing where your foot is exactly laterally and how far back you are to plant that foot to have support of putting that lean back. And for someone who has good proprioception, what I'm talking about right now makes you think, well, that's just a waste of time. But keep in mind, a lot of people don't have that ability. And the reverse lunge is an important tool of learning how to improve your proprioception. And one of the other things you can do to kind of ease into is to use a slider. And the idea behind using a slider as opposed to stepping backwards is that you can ease into just an understanding where that foot is relative to everything else in your body and still support it. So it's kind of like baby steps, but understanding where that foot is moving back and how it feels moving laterally. Probably can't see it too well from the camera, but it's the same token of moving it laterally. I'm exaggerating it. And then to the point where you can step back. And these are good assessments as far as, do you feel comfortable with that foot behind you, not in front of you? And to take it a little further, the other thing is standing on a single leg. That's a little more, actually that's step 2, the reverse lunge, but just simply standing on your leg. And I have a Slackblock here, which is like step 1, advanced. But the idea here is just, how is your balance on one foot? This again, if you have good proprioception, this seems kind of silly and elementary, but for a lot of people, this is very, very difficult, especially as you age. You know, and this is one of the reasons why I work on my balance, is because I want to have a baseline of what I could do when I was healthy. Because there's going to be a time where I'm not healthy, have a stroke or inner ear issue or whatever, and I'm going to lose my balance. And I want to know, like, well, when I was 53, I could do X, Y, and Z. So work on getting an understanding of how your balance is with just one foot. And then if you want to take it up a notch, you can get a Slackblock and something that makes you work on that balance. And another tool you can get, and this is very, very advanced, most gyms won't have this, and I don't recommend anyone buying it because you probably won't be able to utilize it to its full extent, is a Sand Dune Stepper. And what this is just a giant piece of foam that has slightly different densities crosswise. And what this does is you march, and it gives you an idea of how to balance yourself with no impact, and simulates you walking on sand, hence the name Sand Dune Stepper. And this again seems kind of elementary to most athletes, but you'd be surprised like how difficult this is once you do it for a while. And again, the other thing is it's low impact, so it really kind of doesn't really hurt you. And again, when you do this a lot, you're finding you're falling forward and kind of backwards trying to establish that balance. And it's that destabilization that helps you work on that proprioception. So that's part one of this. I'm sure I'll do some more advanced exercises, but this is something that most people need to work on, because I suspect that most people don't have good proprioception, and it can only help you as we age. Thanks for watching.